I'd like to give all glory and praise and honor unto the Most High. And we're going to get into it, man. Now, today, what we're going to be discussing is about, why some people are targeted at birth. Because you hear a lot of people say, they're targeted at birth. They've been going through this all their lives. And, when you think about it, you got to think like, damn, what type of person would put, a little infant, on this that didn't do anything to him, and when you think about it, it makes sense because, we're going to examine the scriptures today and we're going to show you that, these are things that was, been going on for a long time, man, and they've been doing these things for a long time, and they're still doing it, in this modern day time, but it's just more advanced, it's more technology, it's nothing new under the sun, So we're gonna be examining these things today, man. Showing you that, hey, there's a reason why you were targeted at birth. It all depends on sometimes on who you were, who your parents were, what you stand for, your bloodline, things like that. So we're gonna get into the scriptures, man. Exodus chapter 1:15 through 22. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. And he said, when ye do the office of the midwives to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live, man. So this is the Pharaoh right here, man. He's telling the Egyptian woman, hey, when you're doing the duties of the Hebrew woman, man, when they're giving birth, if it's a son, you kill him, man. If it's a daughter, you shall let him live, man. So it was an attack on the males, man. The males, and the reason why he was attacking them, the reason why he was so fearful, because he knew that these were a mighty people. This was somebody that was already putting these people to work. He was somebody that was already wearing them, trying to wear them down, but they kept multiplying. So he's saying, look, man, kill them, kill the sons, man. This is how intimidated he was by them, man. That he sent this decree out, Oh, man. Let's keep going. Verse 17. But the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men, children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing? Why have ye saved the men, children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and they are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. Therefore God dwelt with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty, man. So the women didn't listen to him. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall live, man. So he's still going at it, man. These kids didn't do anything to him, but he was so intimidated by them, that he wanted them dead. And you got to remember too, and this is not in the Bible, but when you open the other books of Jasher, it was already, the people already knew. His people already knew that somebody was coming, man. It was already prophesied that somebody was coming, and that person was Moses, but, the way the Most High worked, Moses was already in the courts of the Pharaoh, He was already in the courts of the Pharaoh, and this guy didn't even know, and more than likely, if he had known, he would have killed him, man. So, but the Most High concealed him, man. So a lot of these guys, they were on the run from birth, man. And you notice there's a consistent theme with people doing this. They always in power, but they never doing the right thing. They never doing the right thing. It's a consistent theme. You're gonna see it. Oh man, let's keep going. So right here, this is King Herod, and I'm gonna summarize for a little bit. This is when Yeshua HaMashiach was born. It was already prophesied that somebody was coming, that a king was coming. So Herod, he was threatened. He was threatened by this. The prophecies already been told that, hey, a king is gonna come. And these guys, they lust for power. They want power, but they never want to do the right thing. So he's asking, the men, hey, go find this new born king and bring him to me. More than likely, he was probably just gonna kill him or try to corrupt him. Either or. This is what they do. You know what I mean? But he was so intimidated, by this person, man. By these people. That he sent out this decree. Let's go. Let's read it. Matthew chapter 2, 16 through 18. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, he was exceedingly wroth, because the wise men didn't come back to him. He was telling them, hey, go bring him back to me. They didn't come back. And sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. You see that? He sent a decree out to slew all the children. That's how intimidated he was, man. That's how intimidated he was. Oh, man. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, in Ramah there was a voice heard, lamentation and weeping and great mourning. Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted because they were not, man. You see that? You see that? Great lamentation, great weeping, man. They lust for power, like I said, man. But they don't want to do the right thing, and they're threatened, by the righteous, the righteous sect of people that's rising up. This is why, they're going to send out these decrees, because they don't want to lose their power, And they're doing the same thing in this modern day time. But, it's more, covert because of technology, But it's the same thing. They doing the same thing like they were in times of old. They just have a sneaky way of doing it. Now, this is what they do now. This next one we're going to be looking at Herod again. From the writers of Josephus, and we're gonna be showing you how slimy this guy was and how intimidated he was, of the royal bloodlines, of the royal priesthoods, man. So let's summarize for a little bit. So Herod, he's an Edomite, he's a convert. He's not a bloodline Jew, but he married a woman that was from the bloodline, a Levite of the Jews. She was from the Hasmonean dynasty, also known as of the Maccabean, of the Maccabean dynasty. She comes from that lineage, and her brother was also of that lineage too. They come from the same stock. So Herod was so intimidated by these people, man. That he wiped them all out. That's how intimidated he was of them. He was, man. That he wiped them all out. His own sons he wiped out. His wife's brother he wiped out. Because he was so intimidated by that royal bloodline. So we're going to get into it. We're going to read this right now and show you, what he did. So basically the people, like I said before, Herod was a Edomite. And, the people, they wanted somebody that was, of bloodline, actual, Hebrew bloodline, to be of the priesthood. And they chose Aristobulus, for pronouncing his name right, which was his wife's brother, and we're gonna show you how slimy this guy was, man. You know, so right here, I'm gonna start from the highlighted part. I mean, and read on down. Upon all this, Herod resolved to complete what he had intended against the young man. This is his wife's brother I was telling you about. When therefore the festival was over, and he was feasting at Jericho with Alexandria, who entertained him there, he was then very pleasant with the young man, and drew him into a lonely place, and at the same time played with him in a juvenile and ludicrous manner. Now the nature of that place was hotter than ordinary, so they went out in a body, and of a sudden, and in a vein of madness, and they stood by the fish ponds, of which there were large ones about the house. They went to cool themselves by bathing, because it was in the midst of the hot day. At first they were only spectators of Herod's servants and acquaintances as they were swimming, but after a while the young man, at the instigation of Herod, went into the water among them, while such of Herod's acquaintances as he had appointed to do it dipped him as he was swimming, and plunged him under in the dark of the evening, as if it had been done in sport only, nor did they decease till he was entirely suffocated. And thus was Astrobulus murdered, having lived no more in all than 18 years, and kept the high priesthood 1 year only, which the high priesthood Aeneas now recovered again. So he gave it. So Herod killed him, because he was actual, from the Hasmonean dynasty. He was an actual Levite, and he didn't like that, and he wanted to give the priesthood to who he wanted to give it to, So he told his men, to drown him. So you see how sneaky and slimy he was. Come on, let's go. He was pretending to be nice with him, coming out here playing with him, come on into the pool. And he told his men to drown him. That's how intimidated he was by this young man, and I believe he was the last of the Maccabean lineage, man. He wiped them all out. This is what they do, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. But look at how cowardly he was. Let me jump down real quick. However, Herod endeavored that none abroad should believe that the child's death was caused by any design of his. And for this purpose, he did not only use ordinary signs of sorrow, but fell into tears also, and exhibited a real confusion of soul. So he's crying. This is a narcissist, right? He's crying and crying with everybody else, so they won't think that he did it, He's afraid that people will find out that he killed, this guy, the last, of the Maccabean dynasty, the lineage. Crying, confusion of soul, exhibited real sorrow. Isn't that similar to that last lesson I did? Where they talk about how they're going to kill up, the righteous prophets and show sorrow after and cry. This is what he did, man. They sent out decrees to kill these young men because they were so intimidated by them. This is what they do. Oh, man, that's why you got to be circumspect. Is this similar to how they did Kanika Jenkins too? Hey, let's go to the hotel. Come on, just drink with us. And they already have it in their mind to set you up, man. Oh, man. This is what they do, man. So you see, the similarities, how, these kids, they were just automatically targeted at birth, man. Just because of who they were. And they're constantly and they're actively searching, some people were allowed to slip through the cracks. But when they got older, they got, it eventually found their way to them, Oh, man. And like I said, it's usually, those doing the wrong thing, wielding this power, man. You know? This is what they do. And this is why, some of you guys have been on it from a young age, man. Is because, or for example, let me give you an example. Let's say I killed your mom and dad, and you were like little at the time. You don't know anything. I don't want you to find out that I'm the one that did it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put you on that list. I'm gonna have my people surround you. So you start asking questions. Hey, what happened to my mom and dad? They're gonna be reporting back. Hey, he's asking about his mom and dad. They're just gonna keep stirring you away from the truth. And it's people like that, that I believe it's people like that this happened to, man. And their entire lives, man, they're surrounded by these people that's constantly leading them away from the truth because they don't want them to find out, who did this and who did that and who did what, because they're intimidated, by you, man. Oh, man. And this is why they do these to these kids, man. They send these decrees out. So, you see, it's all about who your bloodline was, man. So, hopefully this was edifying, man, and all praises to the Most High, man.